We wanted goals, and we finally got them. Is this the turning point for Austin FC? We'll talk about that next. Welcome to Final Whistle ATX. My name's Wyatt. I'm joined with Nick and Harley, and we're at BD Riley's talking about Austin FC.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers. I always forget that. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. The most important part.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's hard to not address the elephant in the room, and that's 4 goals.
It's a happy elephant.
One of us had the privilege of being there yesterday, and that's our buddy Harley here. And you'll notice when you hear him start talking that he was there. So tell me about what that experience was like, because watching on TV, it felt like I was watching something special, and I'm sure it felt more special in person.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're recording, 14 hours after the game, and my voice is still like this.
Today is Thursday.
I'm doing my best. This is the best I can do right now.
Power through.
Yeah. I've been trying to think about how to put this into words because I've genuinely found it quite difficult. And I think that there are times when we go to these live events, whether it's sports or a concert or some kind of performance, and it just means something extra to us, or it's special. And I think that's even more elevated when you get the sense that everybody there has that same feeling as you. And on the surface level, maybe it's Austin FC gets their first home win at Q2 Stadium, and maybe it's that they scored 4 goals when they only had 6 for the season going into this game. But on a deeper level, maybe it's that we haven't been able to do this for the last year, and now we're mostly vaccinated and we can have a packed stadium, and I'm high-fiving and fist-bumping strangers and people are taking their tops off, and I'm not, for professional reasons and also for everybody around me for their sake. But it 100% qualified as one of those special occasions. And I my voice is cracking because I was screaming for 90 minutes. But I genuinely do feel emotional thinking back to it because it was just this incredible experience. And I think that soccer brings people together in a way that very few things do in the world. And maybe I say that as a biased soccer fan, but genuinely from being there last night, you just got this special sense. And you guys in our group chat were texting me saying, you're so lucky. But I genuinely really felt that way. And I think everybody, all 20,738 of us at Q2 Stadium felt that way last night.
Doesn't it just show that the big criticism for soccer is that there's not enough goals? You can have 0-0 games and no one scores. But then when it does happen, when you do get a goal and when you get many goals, it's that much more special because there are times that you go without any, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it makes it, yeah, you're right. I mean, for
Supply
it to
and
happen,
demand.
for it to happen the way that it happened, I mean, I think a lot of us would have been happy with the 1-0 game. And for it to be 4-1, and for some of those guys who really, I was just happy to see some of them score, between Alex Ring, Gallagher, my favorite player, as you guys know, Hector Jimenez, one of my new favorite players. I loved watching him play. So it wasn't just the goals. It's like, man, these guys deserve this goal. And you could tell when they scored, it's like, oh my God, it's off their shoulders.
Yeah.
You know. And the other thing that I think this really helped with, you kind of talked about it right now, Austin's a new soccer city. So there's still people kind of on the fence. And I think that if any of them watch this game, they see how special it is to a lot of people in their community. And maybe they're not one of them, but I think maybe now they have more of a sense of understanding of why this was such a big deal. You know, I think listening to Harley talk with a harsh voice, and but I mean, it's true. Like, you're standing somewhere for 90 minutes, you're going to have an experience that you won't have anywhere
And
else.
to clarify as well, I was in the supporter section, which is the section where if you buy tickets, you got to be rowdy. And it was crazy. I mean, clearly, as well from the broadcast because of the text that I was getting, but it was just being
We were looking for you, too. I was looking for you every time they showed fans.
The first game was a real sense of grandeur, and it was incredible that it was even happening. And last night was like, I guess if the first game was the party, last night was the really dirty after party where the real diehards are and where the real fun happens. How
Especially
about
a
that?
weekday game,
Right,
you've
right.
got to have a bit more commitment maybe.
I did. The announcers, I'm sure you didn't hear it because you were there, but the announcer was saying there's probably not a dry shirt in the stands, because you could see after the first goal, drinks are flying in the air. But, I want to talk about that first game now, now that we've got kind of the emotional piece. This could potentially be a turning point for Austin FC. I mean, we struggled to score goals. And then we scored 4, and it didn't look like a fluke. I mean, we really were pressing the whole game. The passing was incredible. I don't know what the final number was. We must have had 60 to 65% possession. And it wasn't empty stats like we've talked about. It was incredible. So could this possibly be an actual turning point for Austin FC, or is this just another game and then we'll see what happens in the future?
I think it's a turning point. I mean, Portland were well beaten. It wasn't like this was a close game and Austin got lucky. It could have been more goals, and really Portland didn't have that many more opportunities. And I just think the team looked much better last night. I think that it was probably the best team performance so far. And you already talked about your new boy, Hector Jimenez. And John's a bit jealous, I think, of your budding bromance.
He scored. He's like, what else do I have to do?
Come on, Wyatt. But for me, I think when we first started this show, a player that I singled out who then got hurt and then has kind of been out of sight, out of mind, Danny Pereira was unbelievable last night. 20 years old and just running the midfield. And he's so good on the half turn and opening his body up to all that space and just flipping the field, basically. So good at driving forward with the ball. And again, he's 20 years old and he's only going to get better, and he's coming off an injury. I thought he was amazing last night. So I might be the biggest Danny Pereira fan in Austin, potentially. And again, the voice, I'm just feeling emotional about the support I have for him.
This is
clearly.
This is the Michael Jordan Harley episode.
Flu game.
The flu podcast.
Yeah.
With Harley just powering through. I think in the beginning my expectation was let's fight for a playoff spot. And then we started hot, and I was like, okay, we're going to fight for a playoff. We might even win the whole thing. You know what I mean?
I think Harley was on the win the whole thing train.
And then it was like, oh, God, I hope we score a goal this season. So it's been a roller coaster of a year. Has your expectations changed moving forward after that last performance?
Well, I think my original expectation was let's have a winning season. Let's get above that 500 record. And I think that's a reasonable expectation to still have now. My big takeaway from the game is there seems to have been a pressure at Q2. Everyone either wants to score the first goal and is trying too hard and therefore putting undue pressure on themselves, or they don't want to mess up, or whatever it is at Q2, right? Now we've got that out of the way. We've got not only the first goal, but the first 4. Thankfully,
Right.
It was scored by us and not another team. Imagine if
We almost had an own goal there, the first goal.
well,
that was pretty
I guess
funny.
that would have been scored by us, though. Maybe that would have been
I
a
had a nice
sure.
little laugh about that.
But, imagine how it would have felt if Portland or Columbus had scored, or San Jose, had scored the first goal at Q2 and not Austin. It would have felt awful.
Right.
So now we've got that. We don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we've got our first goals at Q2. We don't have to worry about who's going to score the first goal for us anymore. It seems to, I think, have opened things up a little bit more, and I'm hoping that ease of pressure is going to bode well for future games at home.
And by the way, speaking of predictions, low key, I said 4-1 a couple of weeks
You're
ago.
right.
I was a little early, I guess, a couple of weeks early.
Just one
but
game off, yeah.
I'll take that. I'm getting back into the prediction
Yeah.
business, I think.
I do think this could be a turning point for Austin FC. I really do, and it's because I don't think it's unrealistic to say that we can't play that way moving forward. And the reason I say that, I'm not saying we're going to win every game moving forward 4-1, but I think it's not just this game. This is really the third game of our last 3 home games that we've played a similar way. I mean, I never felt like Portland was going to win that game, not for 1 second, especially after we got the first goal. Even when they scored right before half, which is a whole other thing because that was at the +7 minute, even though it was only +6 minutes but whatever.
You're bitter.
I don't care, it's whatever. But it felt like we were in control that whole game. And, we're talking so much about the offense. Are we going to find goals? And I think our defense, and it's for right reasons. In the group chat, you were saying it's been a historic drought. Now that's over. I think we can finally recognize that we have one of the top defenses in the MLS.
Yeah.
And we've made so many smart signings that we now need to, say thank you to Claudio Reyna because, Kolmanich was a backup, Hector Jimenez was a backup, Cascante was a backup, and all of these guys have registered minutes. And all of them have played really well when they've played.
Yeah.
And Matt Biesler has been absolutely incredible. His passing has really changed the game for us in the
Yeah,
back.
Biesler and Cascante have formed a
Yeah.
really good partnership.
Right.
And now we've got a
Romagna
new
as well.
signing.
And we've got a new signing. Speaking
Yeah.
of the goals, Musa Jite.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know a lot about this guy, but we know he's a striker. We know he's 21.
We'll take a
So-
striker in general, right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good enough.
So I know you don't know a ton about this guy because we haven't seen him play, but what's your initial takeaway when you heard about that?
Here's what we do know, right? We know that it's not a designated player. So I think that we probably sign another attacking player, probably another striker in this window. I don't think Musajite is coming in with... I think he's coming in with some pressure because the attack has not been great until last night. But in general, the attack has not been great, and I think he comes in with some pressure. But I still think a designated player will come in with that real pressure to come in and be the star to get those goals. I think it's low-key pretty hard to go from playing in France to playing in front of 20,000 at Q2 Stadium and flying across the US. I think that's a pretty difficult transition, and we don't know, maybe he'll come over here and just not settle or be homesick. We don't know. So I think my expectations are pretty realistic to even less than that. But that's based on Austin FC adding more players in the window, and if they don't, then the pressure I think really ramps up.
In one way, though, at least it increases the pressure on the other forwards to step it up because, that's the area that clearly everyone is focusing on, us needing more talent, more clinical finishing. Just bringing in someone new forces the others that are already there to up their standards because otherwise a guy waiting in the wings who just came in is going to see an opportunity to slide in.
Yeah, I think there hasn't been a chance for competition for places, and we've talked about Danny Houston being injured and missing a lot of time, and John Gallagher left on crutches at the end last night, so we may not have a chance to have competition as much as maybe we would like. But, we're bringing in a new striker, and that's got to be a good thing.
I think you mentioned a few things that are really important takeaways. Number one, he did not take up a DP spot, which is massive. That means we still have room to go out and get another international player to come in and actually be the game changer.
And maybe
who
two.
This kid may not be. Exactly.
Because Adrian Healy told us that they could potentially downgrade Pochettino to just a regular squad player.
Yeah, another great game by Pochettino, by the way, which was nice to see because he struggled this season. But the other thing I think you mentioned is that this kid's raw, and we shouldn't expect him to come in and change the game for us. He definitely can come in and change the people around him by adding that competition and by just increasing the level of play that guys around him. But I think we all need to be realistic. Like you said, he's coming from France in the Division 2, and he's new to America. This is not just about soccer. I mean, he's going to be having to settle into a new city, a new team, a new system.
New country.
And he's not even a new country, and he's not even going to get to play probably, I think Claudio Reyna said, until late July. So, we're talking about him now. We won't see him for a few months, but it's definitely exciting, and he's definitely got potential. And I've seen some highlights that he's got some great finishing power. So I'm really excited about that. And I wanted to ask you, what do you want to see us do next? We've talked about a forward. Is there anywhere else on the field? I think, maybe some depth. I don't know. What would you like to see us do with more signings? Because this is just the beginning.
So in the beginning of the season, I was sort of thinking back to my recollections on my thoughts on the first few games. I remember criticizing the defense more than anything because we were doing all right up front, and some of the breakthrough goals that we were allowing were kind of cheap. But then we fixed that, and now the defense is the strong suit. So if we add an attack, I think that's a good sign, and we're already clearly doing that. And I think getting another winger or two wouldn't be a bad idea, but maybe central midfield to provide a bit more creativity to help out our strikers and provide more of a link between our solid defense and our strikers who sometimes don't get the ball as much as they should wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah. With that being said, this is an exciting time to be an Austin FC fan. 4-1, new signing, more signings on the way, more home games on the way. The next game being at home against LAFC on Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And if you're not going to be able to make it to that game, you can fight it on KBVO. I'm sorry, did I say 7? It's at 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock on KBVO. I guess we can close it out with that. The next time you see us, hopefully, we're on a little bit of more of a high, and Harley has his voice back. But you survived. You survived the Michael Jordan.
I don't know if it's ever coming back. I think this might just be the way I am
that
now.
and England games, it's...
So why don't you plug our socials, and we'll call this one.
So we've been posting these on Facebook, which has been a great avenue for people to watch. Of course, KXAN.com. They're on YouTube as well. And if you have any questions for us, you can always comment under the Facebook post of the episode of the week and ask us any questions. We do go through those comments and look at them. And of course, on Twitter, you can use hashtag Final Whistle ATX there. I know we've had certain comments from certain family members of certain hosts saying that they're looking forward to the episode. So we certainly appreciate those.
Thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.